Hey guys, this is Josh with Spec Bicycles in Crystal Lake, and I am here to show you guys how to replace a flat tire. It's the #1 repair that I do for my customers, and it's probably the most likely thing that you're gonna have happen, like in a triathlon, a training ride, pretty much anytime you're riding your bike. So I've got a rim brake Spec Bicycles, super lightweight road bike, and we're gonna repair it as if we're on the side of a road. So the first thing you want to do is, I don't like to flip my bike upside down. I like to hold on to it and then lay it down after I get a wheel off. So we're going to do the front first because this is a bit easier. So first thing, you want to loosen the skewer. So most skewers are quick release. And then you can take some of the tension by spinning and loosening the skewer nut. I like to just take it completely off and make sure you put the cap with it. Maybe you'll be by the grass, put it somewhere where you can find it. Then also on rim brake bikes, if you come in close, there's usually a little lever that gives you a little more clearance to pull the tire out, and just pull it out like so. So put the tire in a safe spot where you're not going to step on it. And I like to lay the bike down. It's so easy to knock over a lightweight carbon bike. Always derailleur side up and just carefully on the seat and the handlebar. And now we're ready to fix this flat. There might be a little bit of residual air, even if the flat was completely punctured. So get all the rest of the air out. And this is when you got to grab for your tools. So these are the tools you're going to typically need. I usually carry 2 tire levers. These are used for levering the tire off the rim. They're usually just made of plastic, Park Tools, Continental, a million different brands. They're cheap, $5, $6. You have the option of either, if you're on the bike and you're out training, a CO2, popular, super lightweight, or the more reliable mini pump. So this is going to be like a full-size pump, but just miniature. So it never runs out, but it takes a little bit more time. So another good thing to have is just a multi-tool. You never know if like a seat post gets loose or something like that. This is going to have all your different Allen keys in it. So that's what I keep in my saddlebag. And of course, a tube. I never patch a tube. Some people carry patches. I always put a brand new tube in. Patches I found maybe work 10% of the time. If you're out on the road, you want it to be 100% fix. So next thing is take your tire lever. You want to hook the lever under the bead, pull it out, and I usually put a little bit of pressure on the bead to keep it from pulling back off or pulling back in, and just start pulling around. Sometimes the tool's gonna slip. But you see, once you get that much off, you're home free. And you can just go all the way around. And just pull the tube out. As you can see, I've got these fancy latex tubes that go flat all the time. So if you are using latex, be careful because they're notorious for flatting. If you're doing an endurance event, I'd probably use like a butyl or like a thicker butyl tube, like I'm gonna replace it with. So usually when you get a flat, it's caused by something. So the first thing you need to do before you put a new tube in is always check the tire. So I take it all the way off, and I'm gonna run my fingers. I'm gonna pick a spot like the Continental badge. And I'm gonna run both of my fingers around the inside, feeling for like debris, glass, whatever. I've seen like little pieces of wire, all kinds of stuff in customer tires and my own tires. Usually it's a little piece of glass. That's probably the number one thing. So I'm gonna go all the way around. And then the other thing I check is the rim strip. I just go around and make sure that there's nothing sharp that might have dug into the tube. Every now and then these rim strips can get like a little bit old and worn or maybe even break. In this case, everything's good. So now this is the fun part, is getting the tire back on. So I like to put the rim into the tire like so, because I found it's much easier to push the tire over the rim than the other way. So we're gonna show you how to do that. So we're gonna put the tire in the rim, and that allows like the top side to go in really easily. And if you notice, if you come in real close, the tire has a U channel. The very center of the rim is the lowest point. So it creates the smallest overall diameter. So you want to put the bead right in the middle. And then all the way around. And you'll see how easy the tube just pops right on, or the tire pops right on. So now we only have one side of the bead in, and we have the open side that's not on the rim yet. So this is the side we're gonna put the tube in. The easiest way to do this is to put a little air in the tire. You just do it with your mouth or with your pump. Just giving the tube a little bit of like volume and shape. Put it through the valve hole first, and then just kind of carefully put it in place. Just kind of stuff it in to the tie in between the tire and the rim. And then make sure that none of the tube is poking out. And then I start putting the tire on from the opposite side of the valve hole. So I would start up at the top and slowly start working it on with my hands. Now this is typically when it becomes the hardest part. Sometimes you get stuck right there and you can't get it any further. So if that's the case, I flip it back around and make sure I'm getting the rim. If you come in real close, I'm getting that tire right in the middle of that bead of the rim. And that makes it as small a diameter as possible for that tire to be going into the rim. And then it usually makes it just loose enough where it easily pops on. Make sure the valve is all the way up into the tire.
Wait.
With a Presta, you got to open up the little valve, as you guys probably know. But if you don't know that, Presta valves have to be opened before you can pump air into them. And I'm going to use my little mini pump. This is probably what I'd recommend if you're doing like a endurance triathlon or like an ultra of some kind. Because it's possible you might have more than one flat.
Like that.
And these usually thread them on. And once they're threaded on, you can pump it up just like a regular pump. Now, this might take a minute, might take 2 minutes, and this also might be the case where you just need to get enough air into it to get back to a pit or somebody with a floor pump to put the right amount of pressure, because many times you're not going to have a gauge on this, so you're just going to be like limping it in. So get enough air in there where it's good enough to ride out to the next checkpoint.
What?
Make sure you close your valve, and you're good to go. I'm going to show you how to use the CO2 now, because CO2 is very popular, and a lot of people don't know how to use it without screwing up. So this is what a CO2 canister looks like. They come unpunctured, so you do have to puncture the canister to get it to work. And these are typically screw-on also, just like the pumps. So they're designed to thread onto the valve.
Okay. Okay.
And then the good ones have like a little lever on them, so you can kind of adjust how much air you're putting in. So they work very quickly. In that case, it just took a few pumps.
And
you're off to the races. All right, so now we're going to throw the tire back on. I like to step over my bike if it's a front wheel or a back wheel to make sure I'm putting weight on the front wheel, because otherwise it is possible that the wheel can get out of alignment, won't fully seat in the dropout. And I'm going to tighten it just like as if I was putting my wheel on before an event, or just tight enough. You don't have to go crazy tight with the skewer, and you're good to go. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to take the rear wheel out, because there are some like little key details that you need to know, just so you're not making your life harder than it needs to be. First off, usually if you got a flat and you're coming to a stop, you're probably in one of the bigger cogs in the back. The first thing you want to do is you want to shift into your number 11 or your lowest gear. Actually, it's technically called the highest, but it's the smallest gear in the back. So I'm going to shift it all the way down, and that's going to allow me to get the rear wheel out easier, because the derailleur is going to be positioned as far out as possible. Same thing, loosen the skewer. I like to take it all the way out just because you're kind of removing any barriers. Put that on the ground, open up your brake, and then this is the important part. The derailleur a lot of times will be in the way and not want you to pull it out. So you have to lever that derailleur, and it allows you to then take it out real easily. And once you get the tire and the flat replaced, same as removal or reverse, but you want to set that chain and that jockey wheel right on your number 11. So I like to get behind it, do the same thing where you're helping lever it into position, and right into your dropout. Again, just like the front, I like to actually hop on the bike and make sure I have weight on that rear skewer or the rear dropout, just so I know the wheel is perfectly seated. Because Because the worst thing is going down the road and then realize the rear wheel isn't all the way in place.
Dang.
Tighten it up. Good to go. So I know a lot of you guys are probably riding disc brakes nowadays. So I want to make sure we cover how to remove a disc brake wheel. It's actually about as easy as doing a regular rim brake wheel with an axle, but you're going to need typically you're going to need a 6mm Allen key. Usually most multi-tools will have that. And if you've got a through axle like this, it's just going to have a torque rating and a 6mm that you can pop in there. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of force, but you can do it with the leverage of a multi-tool. So you're going to unscrew it all the way, and as you can see, it's just a full solid axle. And then you just pop it out. The one thing is, you don't want to ever hit the brake, especially when you're on the side of the road, because it will push the pistons together. So just take care when you're laying the bike down or when you're just handling this area and you have the wheel out, don't hit the brake. And then installation is just the reverse. Make sure you get the disc brake on the side that the caliper's on. Carefully put it in. Slide your axle in. I always start the axle with a few like hand turns. Sometimes you can get them cross-threaded. So once you feel it biting, then you can put it in with the tool and torque it. If you're on the side of the road, you're not going to be able to torque it to spec, but maybe when you get back to the service area or back home from a training ride, you can either take it to your bike shop, or if you have a torque tool, torque it to the right spec.